Greetings and welcome. How are we all feeling at the moment? Today's topic is on vulnerability. Vulnerability, and this is something that none of us want to do. And it's something that we all have to do at some point. And vulnerability is actually a good thing when placed in the right context with the right people in a safe space. We all know how embarrassing or how fearful it is to be vulnerable in a public place or around people that you don't know or that you can't trust. And it happens to us. Sometimes it just becomes a bit much and we feel a little bit vulnerable. We wake up one morning and we just feel a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more emotional. And it's our emotions that make us vulnerable. It's about how we feel about life, ourselves, other people. That has a massive effect on how vulnerable we can be. And if you have gone through a lot of past trauma, then you may find it impossible to be vulnerable, or you might be a very vulnerable person in general. And vulnerability is scary for everyone. Just the thought of becoming vulnerable is so daunting. And we're not afraid of vulnerability itself. We're afraid of what's going to happen to us if we become vulnerable. We are afraid of danger, whether that be imminent and natural, instinctual danger, or danger that is constructed by the mind. And the thing is about vulnerability, if you are too vulnerable, then you may feel a bit weak. You may find it very difficult to be resilient and strong. And that's fair. But being vulnerable doesn't always mean that you're weak. We often associate vulnerability with weakness, but this is actually where true strength lies, when we start acknowledging our emotions and working through them, managing the frequency and the intensity of every emotion that passes by, so that you don't have these emotional reactions that make you more vulnerable to judgment, rejection, and abandonment. And none of us like that. All of us, to some extent, don't want to be vulnerable. And sometimes it's for good reason, but sometimes it can actually limit us and our healing. And remember, when you become vulnerable in the right space with the right people, it's a good way to connect, for people to see that you're human, that you're going through something, to offer and request support. And being vulnerable is a fantastic way to express yourself, to be open about what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what's going on for you right now, what's going on in your reality, how you're internalizing things, how your experiences are affecting you, how you're making meaning. And being vulnerable with the right person at the right time can be very constructive. And it's a really good way to get some things off your chest and to be able to fully express yourself. And that brings me to my next point. It's important to know who to be vulnerable with. And the sad thing is, there are many people out there who will take your vulnerability and use it to their advantage, that they'll use you just because they either make you feel good, or they buy into something you said, or they make you feel a bit confident, and they'll make you feel like you're indebted to them. And that's why it's very important know who to become vulnerable with. Otherwise, you may get hurt. You may be judged. You may be embarrassed. You may feel shame, regret, all of these horrible things. So it's important that you know who to be vulnerable with. And you must always only become vulnerable when you feel safe and in control. If you are uncontrollably crying in public, you are susceptible to becoming weak, losing your resilience, losing your integrity and your dignity, and it can become very overwhelming. And if you are vulnerable in a place where you shouldn't be, you're going to end up being more vulnerable because you're going to have these emotional reactions within yourself, and it can be very difficult because if you are not careful with who you share things with, and if you are vulnerable in a place where you don't feel safe and you are not in control, then you're going to struggle heavily with feeling very not only out of control, but you won't be able to manage what you're feeling. You won't be able to manage your reactions, and that's what makes you so susceptible to manipulation. Is when you become vulnerable with the wrong people, then you are more susceptible to manipulation when you are vulnerable in the wrong place with the wrong people. And on the other hand, vulnerability can allow for growth because you become aware of your limitations, your challenges, your issues, things in life that are affecting you, things from your past. And it causes you to deconstruct the self, to take yourself apart little bit by little bit and reconstruct that into something that is stronger, more resilient, and more courageous as well. And it is a fantastic way for us to connect with other people, to learn about ourselves. And it also gives way for us to heal the inner relationship, to heal the inner child, and to be able to become growth and healing focused. And vulnerability is really good for that because unfortunately, when we're going through difficulties, we have to break down before we can build up. We need to take ourselves apart, put ourselves back together, take ourselves apart again until we find the right combination of what we need and what we want. But remember, if you are too vulnerable, if you are always vulnerable and you find it very difficult to collect yourself and to manage your emotions and your thinking processes, your behaviors, your habits, then you are more susceptible to harm, to pain, to hurt, to rejection, to embarrassment. And when you are a very, very vulnerable person, you need to make sure that people don't take advantage of you. And you have to avoid mental and physical pain, to be in tune when there's a threat and when there's not actually a threat. My advice would be to be vulnerable in specific situations, and instead of self-sabotaging and self-destructing from this vulnerability, that you look at ways to build upon that, to build from that, to use your vulnerability to get to know yourself better, to do self-introspection and to be able to heal yourself so that you can be vulnerable at the right times with the right people where you are safe and you are in control. But a lot of us think that this is a bit ironic, but vulnerability can create strength in many ways. You build your resilience, you build your ability to overcome limitations, you're able to challenge yourself, to face challenges every day, and you're growing your ability to bounce back, which is your resilience, to bounce back when things get difficult, to fall on the floor, but then to stand up when you're done crying. And that's what it is, to be vulnerable, but to grow in strength from that. And the most important part of that is that when you become vulnerable, you're able to look within. You're able to see, how am I destructing now? What's causing me to break down? And once you have identified what is causing you to feel so hurt, so vulnerable, you can look within and you can heal. So remember, vulnerability is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's very important that you are careful not to fall victim to manipulation, but rather use vulnerability in a sense that you can gain control of your life, you can create better, and you can grow in strength and resilience. So remember, you are unique and valuable. Take care of that stunning person. Stay strong wherever you're from. You are worthy.